Hello, everyone. Do we have everyone here? I think so. So, welcome everyone to our roundtable discussion. We hope all of our participants have been enjoying OmniTestingConf so far. So let's close it off on a good note. And let's dive into the discussion. So, Sergio, I'll pass it over to you. I believe you're on mute.
Okay, first bug of the day. Hi, everyone. So thanks for attending and actually contributing to the OmniTesting conference. I had the pleasure of attending some of the talks, and because I cannot be in two places at the same time, but I will see the remaining talks as soon as possible. But don't worry, because I have prepared a bunch of questions nevertheless. But before we go into that, and since we have 5 hours of questions, let's shake some bit. Just to get a bit relaxed. Yeah, these are the kind of exercises that people tell us to do it when we are working remotely.
Okay. Bring some of the birds. Do you have the birds?
The bird is on the other room. Probably is eating, like he always does. So let's get the show running, and I have some questions that I would like to ask you. Well, feel free. The questions, they are not really, let's say, focused just for one person, but I will pick one of you to answer the first question, just to make this more, let's say, structured. But then feel free if you want to add anything. And well, the first question is about silos. And well, why do I want to talk about silos? Because unfortunately, I've seen silos so many times that I'm quite tired of silos. And I do think that silos are perhaps one of the biggest blockers of quality. So my question is how to break this whenever the organization is highly hierarchical, highly organized in, for example, in departments. And this question, to get the show running, is to Sophia.
So let me see if I understood the question. So your question is how to break silos, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the best way to break silos is to be a goat. And I'm going to explain this. So there is an awesome talk that it's called The Goats and the Silos Problem that I can post in the chat for you to take a look on. That is from a guy that works in Chef. And this means that you as an individual, you can be the person that is going to start and to break the silos. So nothing can stop you for example, asking your product manager to have lunch and talk with them and try to understand what is happening at the product roadmap. Or, for example, get someone from marketing and ask them how the things are going, what they are working on. So you can do that work yourself without having like a formal meeting to do that. So the best way to break silos is to build these relationships around your team and around your company and organization. And if you do that, also others will follow you. So I think that it's really important to assume that you can be the change that you want to see. So you can be that person that everyone can look at and, okay, so she's doing this, she's being a goat, so let's try to be a goat as well. And that's something really powerful. And you don't need anyone or any manager or any practice or any mythology to tell you that you should do that. You can do that yourself. Another point is to share information all the time. Even if no one asks you to document, or even if no one asks you to share that, you can do that. And that will bring powerful change in terms of the breaking the silos that you want to break.
Okay. Any additional thoughts on how to break the dark forces of silos?
Yeah. From my perspective, anyway, I know I worked in organizations earlier in my career where there was some kinds of silos and things like that. But I think investing in just building relationships with people, as Sophia alluded to, take time, just talk to people, go for coffee, bring biscuits, get to know people. You shouldn't be banned from speaking to developers or designers or product managers or other people in the company. So build the relationships with those people at a human level first. And once you've built a human relationship, communication flows a bit easier. And it all starts from there, building strong relationships. And one thing that I've seen in my career is some testers just go to developers when there's problems. And they're like, oh, problem. Don't be that tester. Be the tester that goes to asks them how they're getting on, builds a relationship that isn't just focused on getting bugs fixed. That's focused on, real human relationships, developing that connection, and appreciating, that there's more to them than just a bug fixer or a bug writer. For me, that's very important.
I remember that some time ago in my thinking moments, I was reflecting about after, let's say, interacting with several people, customers and leads out there, and even outside of that context, I think that we all as humans like to be heard, don't we? And understanding what are the needs and the problems, in the other hand, can be, let's say, a good starting point in order to overcome some of the challenges that we may have as a team.
Yeah, in my previous companies, I when I was into silos, I don't like it, but we used to learn more by the coffee machine, because the people there are just talking about the real problems that they have and sharing, than in the meetings that we were, because everyone was shielding themselves and trying not to show the problems, because everything is good on my department, of course. So the coffee machines were really the place where the guys were learning about what was happening in the other places.
If I was a spy, I would put a hidden mic in the coffee machine, probably. It would be the best place then.
Sergio, I have a brief comment about this. I'm afraid my comment may not be as optimistic as the ones coming from all of you guys, but this is entirely based on actual experience. And honestly, I agree 100% with what Sophia said. Basically what everyone has shared here. As a matter of fact, there is abundant literature talking about product management, and communication is a central part of that. And that helps, as we are talking, that helps to break these silos, this old way of doing things, of these hard structures within organizations. But something that someone told me once, and I discovered that I was in a real trouble there. And there is a conclusion behind this. Organizations are made of human beings, and human beings not always will want the same that you want, or perhaps that other 120 people want. Perhaps 100 of people want to get out of that old structure, whatever. But as this was, there was something very important that was said in the last talk, the last stage. You need to get buy-in from the leadership of the organization. Sometimes you can try with several approaches, you will never get that buy-in. I don't know why. I know why it happened in my case. but I don't know about other organizations. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes you will use multiple strategies to achieve this. It will not be possible, and you may need to move on into a new organization, or just ask for a change of teams within the same organizations, because sometimes the involved human beings there, they are rejecting the possibility of change, and whatever you try, it just will not get you any results. I've seen this. This is unfortunately, this is not very optimistic, but I've seen this in the past. It's a reality, and if you're laughing, you may kind of agree a little bit with me, perhaps. So sometimes this is not possible. Even applying all the strategies you can think of, sometimes this is not possible, and it's time to move on. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Nicholas. I've unfortunately or fortunately, I worked with some tough managers on development area, and I understand those pains. And especially whenever you want to go there and try to get something started, it can be really, really hard if the top management, or all the layers until the top management, if they don't understand nothing about software or quality or culture. And so I got myself involved in, for example, in a project that were actually, before starting from the bottom, I had to start from the top. And it's not easy, because you have to iterate a lot until people start understanding bits. But it can also happen when we are removed out of the equation. That equation goes into a stable state, which is basically the previous state. So yeah, not all good things, I would say, but we need to do our best.
Yeah, if you allow me, I want to share my experience. My experience is a little bit optimistic. Maybe I have a luck to work in a good company, I will say. With don't forget that we are all humans, and I will say that on the daily basis we are all family, and we share a lot of hours together trying to figure it out and resolve issues on the client side. Most of our clients, basically, they were very friendly enough, and they were in open discussion. We resolve every problem. I will not say that in most of the cases, if we do like in meetings or it's organized, it's only the best way. I will say that the natural thing is more better. There you can see the emotions, you can see the real thoughts, you can see the real results. You can plan, you can discuss, and you can organize. So definitely my experience, it's working with those clients, it's I will say it's a good thing where we can agree both of the sides and do what we want to do. So basically depends on different situations and different clients. And what we have in our company here, it's a family culture, which is the most important part for me. I will be sure not to take too much time about this discussion, so I wanted to share this with all of you.
Thank you. Okay. May I move to the next question? Okay, so maybe to you, John. Nice to meet you, first of all.
Oh, yeah, nice to meet you too.
Well, AI and machine learning are all over the place, but they are, my question, do you think they are really differentiating right now in terms of testing and quality? Are they differentiating factors? And well, you know why this question is for you.
Sure. Yeah. That's good.
But well, you can give you our perspective on that.
Sure. So,
and then, okay, this is the first part of the question, because
Okay.
then the second part is how do you see the AI and machine learning in the future help the team in their quality improvement goals?
Yeah.
Sometime ahead in
Sure. Yeah. So on the AI ML front, it's, well, for us, it's taken quite a long time to actually develop good models, that can actually solve these problems in testing. A lot of approaches that we've seen elsewhere in other places don't always work quite as well and don't always have as much value. It just depends on how they're used in application. So it's very complicated, and for us, we sort of try and think of it from how can we best represent the business logic in an AI model, right? Because ultimately, when you do testing, you're trying to test the business logic, right, and make sure that that application is actually performing that business logic as intended, right? So it's not just about applying models to say, let's recognize an icon or something, right? That can be part of it, but actually, greater understanding of the intention of testing is sort of the objective in trying to get AI and ML models to apply, right? So that's something that we've worked very hard to try and do. So beyond just the classical, classify shapes or colors or things like that, but actually try and understand the processes and train on the processes involved in testing. So that's something that we've focused on very heavily. And going forward, I think in terms of value to testing community in general, you can see we sort of think of it as an augmented sort of hybrid test platform where you don't eliminate testers, but you just have them use tools, these AI ML tools, to help them and make them more efficient, right? So that's sort of our objective as well, is to and going forward, we can see AI and ML making testing more efficient, but not obviously eliminating the testers. You still need testers to define your workflows and do things like that. But the task of trying to find the best XPath, things like that, can be solved easily with AI and ML. If that makes sense. So, yeah.
And anyone wants to add any additional thoughts on this?
Honestly, I think we're still struggling to do decent automation. Not mind deep learning ML or AI. So there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go. Like my struggle for the last 15 years or so is to actually design systems to be testable, so we can write effective, efficient test automation. So I'm interested to see how you're going to get on with ML and deep learning. But I think if you can scope it down very, very small and start with a smaller problem and work from there, it can be hugely powerful. But the testing, if you think about testing is an inherently human thing, because ultimately software is created by humans for humans. So the act of understanding and evaluating whether we solve a problem for another human is very, very hard to train a model to do. But if you can scope it down to something specific, it can certainly be effective and work out from there. I think there is a path towards very valuable ML and deep learning solutions, but I think there's a way to go before we get there. As I said, if I had really great test automation, if we'd even gotten that far, I'd be excited. So So I see very varying levels of quality in terms of our system design from a test automation perspective, various levels of quality in terms of testing expertise, depth of knowledge, all that stuff. So I assume the same challenges will be in place for deep learning and machine learning and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, just to follow up on that. So there are definitely different stages, right, of machine learning. The ultimate stage would be, you send the model your application and it just tests everything automatically, right? You don't have to define anything at all. It just tests all of the logic, but unfortunately, it has no way of knowing that, right?
But you'd have to model in all of your potential customers.
That's right. That's right. You would exactly.
And then your AI models are more complex than the software's testing.
That's right. That's right. So we're not quite at that stage yet, right? We're not quite at that stage. We're sort of at this intermediate stage where you still have the tester involved, but we just make it easier for them, to build those workflows and faster, right? So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that you mentioned, John, one thing that stick in my mind is about augmenting the augmenting the abilities, the capabilities of testers, and I think that we should look at that in that sense. Whenever I was researching for my talk, I was reading this scientific article, a bit outdated from Google, and where they use like a single repo for all their code base, and actually they have like their own source code system, highly tuned. And whenever you do a commit in any of the 1,000 projects they have, automation will be triggered in a smart way. So the system will try to find the best value-added test automation scripts that can provide, let's say, information about value and risk on a certain time frame. And that requires like having really access to a ton of historical data. And for example, that's in my perspective a good or an excellent use case for using machine learning. That
absolutely. And it's actually something that we've worked on that exact problem before. It's not part of our core offering, but we have definitely looked at that in depth with we did some consulting projects with some big companies in the Valley and on that specific issue. It's highly complex, right? And it requires really understanding what is the business logic and purpose of those applications, and converting that into a format, a representation the computer can understand is quite complicated, right? So it's something we are still actively developing, though, right? So hopefully we'll see that come soon.
Okay, now a question perhaps to Rolf. Yeah, I have a question for you.
Go.
Well, I would say that on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, and things like that, we see a lot of posts about technical aspects of building and testing the software, especially around test automation. See a lot of them. And if we go to YouTube, it's all about Linio and all that ecosystem. But then, in your perspective, and I think you covered that in your talk, but in your perspective, what is the importance of soft skills, especially on what concerns testing?
Yeah, it's the soft skills thing. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So in the talk, I talked about, as individuals, we have to build deep expertise, right, in our particular field, whether you're a developer, you're a tester, whatever, right. And it's core to build that deep expertise before you broaden your scope to others, right. That's the way I approached the problem anyway. So we talk about technical excellence, we talk about building deep skills. I think there comes a point in your career where you have that moment where you realize I, as an individual, can have a certain level of impact, but if I can influence the others around me, I can have a far greater impact. Some people it happens really earlier in their career, some people it happens later in their career. But I think at that point, right, when you talk about soft skills, you talk about communication, you talk about influence, building relationships, all that stuff. I think the single most powerful thing I've done in my career is work on my communication skills. In terms of soft skills, I think speaking at conferences, writing a book, doing all that stuff has forced me to really clarify my ideas on what I do. to really distill them down into something simple and clear, create models that I can use to communicate my ideas to others. And what happens when you become really, really good at communicating is that you can influence others in a very positive way, because you can articulate clearly why you think something is important, what the benefits of it will be, in a way that's compelling for others. As an individual contributor, you can obviously contribute, yourself to a certain capacity. If you can influence others and help them unlock their potential, and that's where I'd see the true kind of, we talk about 10x developers or 10x tester or whatever the hell, right? The real 10x people are the people that can have a really positive influence on others, that can unlock the potential in others. The biggest breakthroughs I had in my career was when I worked closely with, say, developers to build systems that were testable, or to work closely with managers or developers to build systems that were operable. It wasn't when I did more and more testing or got better and better at testing. It's when I took my expertise and combined them with the expertise of others to create something new and powerful. And that's bringing people together, bringing different perspectives and expertise together to solve big problems. For me, that's the most powerful thing that we can do. So soft skills and collaboration, communication, and all that sort of stuff is absolutely core to doing that. The ability to communicate your ideas, to listen to others, to take them on board, to read widely and bring in ideas from different places and combine them with your experience, your ideas, to create something new and share that. It's hugely powerful. So yeah, working as an individual contributor and doing a great job is fantastic, but going out there and look to help others and to unlock their potential and work together to solve bigger problems, that's as I said, that's for me a kind of a 10x tester, developer, whatever you want to call it.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, and I really well articulated, Rob. I really agree with everything that you
It would have been ironic if I did a really shitty job of explaining that one.
I was just adding over that is that, well, we work on teams, so we need to work with the team. It's not an individual work, and to do that, we need relationship. Like we all said, to straighten that. And as a tester in my earlier days, we kind of always needed that soft skill, because we needed it to provide a way to show that we find a bug, but we are not saying that the developer has failed just because they have a bug. So those kinds of soft skills, I believe, are at least come easy for the testers that were in the beginning testing things manually and things like that. But coming back to the team, I believe that working with a team, straightening those soft skills, and also understanding what the others have better than you and how to leverage that towards the objective of the team is also important, and something that I think everyone should take care of also.
It's interesting in the role of tester, right? Because in the role of tester, unless you develop your skills of influence and communication, your job is pointless, right? Because you need to, essentially you're an information purveying service, and then unless you can articulate, okay, I did this testing, I found these bugs are very important, and make a compelling argument for why they should be fixed, and develop the relationships with the team, then you're just finding bugs. None of them are getting fixed. So of all the roles, the role of tester is probably a role where you really have to develop those soft skills, those social skills, the ability to influence, because ultimately your job is to get people to buy into the information you're providing and getting them to act on it. Otherwise, you're just going around finding bugs, and that no one's going to fix. And there's other stuff too. But.
And building bridges, because I always remember a wife that stuck in my head that, well, I come to the developer, I found this bug, and I believe it's something that nothing to do with me. And then we go to operations, and, well, I think it may be operation, not with me. Then we come back to, and we kind of have to have some connections in different teams to be able to help us doing our job, to bring that valuable information into the team. And those soft skills are really, really important for the job.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, perhaps a question more deep, I would say, question first to think a bit about, to reflect about what is that thing that you feel that is still missing today in terms of testing or quality. And Nicholas,
Yes.
What in your perspective, if something comes to mind, what is that thing that you feel that is still missing today in terms of testing or quality that we need to tackle?
Yeah, interesting question. Mostly because I've been trying to get some distance from technical aspects for a while now. So I'm not that close to the technical, let's call it this way, the technical profile of a QA engineer. I was a QA engineer for like 9 years, something like that. And there was a point I was writing automated tests, automation scripts with different libraries, different programming languages, libraries, frameworks, whatever. And I realized that at some point the market was switching towards this, and I'm not the one saying this. It has been said several times today. You need to develop your excellence, your technical skills, your technical proficiency, all of this. But there is still a strong, I would use this word, from the population of QA engineers, there is still a huge part of people that don't want to get involved in let's call it like hardcore technical aspects, like writing performance tests, security testing, automation testing, even with tools that make things easier today. But still, what I realized for myself is it was not my place to keep going through that path, through the career of a QA engineer, because if I want to be a QA engineer, I want to be one of the best, right? I want to be in the side of the good guys, of the good ones, not in the side like Cristiano, right? Or Sergio, or all the guys here. We've heard about artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these topics. And there are people that they don't want to get involved in those things. They want to continue writing scripted tests, running manual tests. Some of them won't even look at the browser console to see if there are exceptions coming from the back end, and if integration between front end and back end is being successful or not. So I think that the years keep going by, and these survivors are still there, and they are doing well. But at some point, I think perhaps these low code or no code tools will come in handy for them, for these people that don't want to get involved in very technical aspects. They don't want to push code to deal with Git repositories and all of that. But I don't know, from my perspective, if you're a QA engineer and you don't want to get involved in getting all this knowledge, this technical knowledge, apart from the soft skills that we're talking about, perhaps you need to analyze. I'm sure here we don't have those profiles, I think, but there are going to be a few professionals that are going to find that perhaps their career path is more oriented towards, I don't know, leadership or project management, something like that, something more from the side of management, or helping people to find their career path, something like that. and not keep being part of QA, and the market keeps moving hard towards this orientation of becoming more and more technical, to the point that a QA engineer is almost at the level of a senior software engineer. The difference is that one is developing a software to test software to ensure quality, and the other is, yeah, I'm an engineer. Exactly that. That's exactly my point, right? So I think that's missing, but I don't think that's missing in the tools or in products like Xray or something like that. It's more missing in each one of us. What do you want to do with your QA career, right? But that was a decision that I make for myself. I don't know about the rest. Each one is free to do whatever they want to do. That's my take on this.
So, just waving. Go ahead, is it? Yeah. So from my perspective, right? From my perspective, I think the biggest problem in ways is that we have to still talk about these people. Well, we're still talking about people who are writing are running scripted tests and all this kind of stuff. From my perspective, that's an obvious sign of dysfunction, right? So, we should really, and the biggest problem for me is a lack of appreciation and a lack of depth of knowledge of testing in general across our industry. And when I say industry, I mean software development, I mean beyond that, right? So from my perspective, I think that, there's a lot of people doing testing jobs unnecessarily out there, and that we should really expect a lot more in terms of testing knowledge from in general from everyone involved in software delivery. Why? Because I think the idea of throwing a product to some testers to run through scripts doesn't make any sense. I think building knowledge and appreciation for quality and testing practices across the team makes a hell of a lot more sense, right? So whereby if there's something scripted, you're asking the question like, why isn't this covered with unit tests, integration tests? Why is this not covered with contract tests if it's some kind of an API? Why, we shouldn't be paying people to do mind-numbing stupid testing. We should be focused on bringing really skilled testers into a situation where deep skilled knowledge and expertise has to be applied. For everything else, we should be, developers should be able to write really good acceptance tests, unit tests, all that kind of stuff, right? And then, as I said, focus on having fewer really skilled, really knowledgeable testers that do really great work. And I've worked in the role of test coach, I suppose, for a few years, many years ago, and that's kind of where that model was going, and it worked quite well with our companies where you as a tester, you went into the team, and the idea was to make yourself redundant essentially in the team. So we're all, we didn't have any of that scripted stuff or anything you were talking about, but what I found it was, with the best will in the world, I couldn't just say this team now no longer has a tester and just let them go, because there was a gap or a deficit in terms of testing knowledge. They either didn't know or didn't appreciate the power of things like risk analysis, exploratory testing, accessibility. Just there's a whole host of things that they didn't appreciate or even weren't aware of in terms of how we manage risk or on all that kind of stuff. So I suppose what I'm getting at here is our developers come out just with a really strange idea of what testing is. Some of them, like you talk about testing, you're saying, oh yeah, I wrote unit tests. Like, okay, that's a starting point, but let's talk about what can go wrong. There's a whole an infinite number of things that can go wrong between even if all your unit tests pass, and your user experience in the software, right? So for me, there's a lack of appreciation and a lack of knowledge around testing and test approaches and managing risk and all that kind of good stuff in the development world. And what I would love to get to is a place where we have really, really fucking fantastic testers that know their stuff inside out, that work with developers to build those skills, and that can go in and do really specialist testing. But the bulk of that drudge work, that simple stuff, is done by the developers as they write the code, they write their acceptance tests, they write their unit tests. But what will be really, really cool is when you have really excellent testers with really deep knowledge working with developers to say, we could actually build a tool to do the testing here. we could design the system to be testable first off, but yeah, let's create a tool that, create a tool to test APIs, and so then you're combining this deep expertise and passion with people who can build solutions to to ultimately to get us to a better place. If we're happy that people are running scripts and doing all this, like that's not going to move us forward, I think, to be honest. And just having, even for me, to a large degree, having testers writing test automation at all is a bit of an anti-pattern. But maybe that's a controversial statement as well. I see no reason why people writing code that are really, really good at writing code can't write their own acceptance tests, can't write whatever test, can't write performance tests, can't do all that stuff.
What I find curious, Robin, in that respect is that I see it's in some open source, because I use a lot of open source projects, and I see in some of them, let's say, a really good coverage from a testing perspective, and I struggle to understand why we cannot do that on, let's say, on non-open source projects. Why we have to work in a different way. That doesn't mean that those open source projects, they are covered by deep testing. Well, but there's like a practice there. Whenever you are building out the code, you are responsible for the code, for the unit level tests, for the API tests, for even if you as a developer are you going to implement like an algorithm, better than anyone else that probably that algorithm can have risks around performance or security. As long as you are aware of those risks, that those risks can impact users. So I do agree that moving testers more to thinkers, deep thinkers, to be more, let's say, coachers, people that can influence, and having testing and quality more like a deep skill, like a concern, is, I think, in my perspective, is more the way to go to move forward. But I'm not sure if you all agree with that.
Well, Sergio, if you allow me, I can add just one comment. Well, I have to agree with Rob when he says that it's super important to understand what is success for your customers. And I think that testers in the future would be wondering if they are bringing, if the product is bringing value. So you talked about value, Sergio, during your talk. And I think the next step would be to developers have the accountability for the software and what they do. So testers could be worrying about if this product is bringing the value that is expected to bring or not. And exploratory testing can help you with that. And there's a lot of things that you can do to achieve that. But I think that could bring a really huge difference and have a positive impact in the future of quality.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing regarding open source projects. I have my own theory about that, because I saw a TED talk a while ago about a guy that was telling that if everyone in the world will know everything that you do, you will be a better person, because you want to be perceived as a better person. So open source code is kind of like that for me, because I'm putting my code out for everyone to see, and I want to put the better code that I have out there with the better validations and tests, because other guys will come and see, and I don't want to see that for them to know that I'm a shitty developer. I want them to see that I'm an awesome developer that do the right things with the right everything correctly. So for me, it's kind of that thing. If we are in a private company and we are there for some years, we kind of don't care that much about that, and we come on the daily tasks
I think you've got skin in the game as well, though, in open source, and you're passionate about it, right? So you most likely consume the product yourself. So you're a user, people can see you're a contributor and you're responsible, and you just have skin in the game. So when things go wrong, it impacts you both in terms of the thing that you work on, the thing that you're passionate about doesn't work, but there's also the transparency, as you pointed out. Everyone can see it. So I guess when we're working, then, you know, there isn't that same level of transparency. There isn't that same level of skin in the game, either when you're working on a product, because you're just one of many people working on something. So it could be anyone that contributed to this. But plus, I don't think there's as many safety nets with open source. We don't have testers typically, and a QA department or whatever you call it. You don't have any of that stuff. So you know that it's your responsibility to take something from a concept all the way through to the customer without introducing too many issues anywhere.
Okay, now.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Sergio, if you allow me, I will be very quick on this. I will say my perspective on this is we need to, I will agree with all of you and all your comments, but definitely I think that it's a combination of technical and soft skills, and we need emotions and soul when we do the job. I also have experience with open source projects, and I feel very good there. Why? Because I felt a soul, I felt emotions from all the contributors, and just like some of you tell that they don't have QA department or QA engineers, but it's mostly individual job. But the speed of the market today is very, very, very fast, and everyone is in the run to deliver the first solution and be on the market. We forget about the quality, or most of them forget about the quality. They just simply go to jump and be the first one that they will deliver. So I can say that it's mostly a combination of everything, and we should be spending time on coaching, on trying to be a leaders, telling our stories, exchange our experience, make conversation. The communication is the key factor here, that it's relevant for every business or every industry or every product or every tool. So that is something from my perspective, how I'm seeing the things.
Darko, I will take the opportunity. Oh,
I was going to add just one thing. So from the AI ML side, so I've largely agree with you, you guys. But the concept of leveraging tools to replace that routine scripting, the time you spend writing scripts, and replace that with testers, trying to build more higher quality tests, because we see this actually all the time in our product, right? We'll get companies coming in and say, oh, well, we need to build 1,000 tests on our application, right, or something. And they go and build them, and a lot of them don't really have a lot of value necessarily, right? They run, they pass, but do those actually provide that value that they really want in testing? And so that's a big challenge I see as well. But in general, that's sort of our philosophy is can we provide these tools to help testers be able to build high quality tests, but not have to get down into the details of like writing code, right?
So Darko, I think it's the last question is for you, at least to get the show running. I think we all heard a lot about culture and having a quality culture in the team. In your experience, what will be some tips to get that started?
It's really tricky question. Why? Because
that's right. The last one.
yeah, because you need to find the appropriate people for that. It's not something that you can find and you can implement easily. It's definitely a process that needs to be repeatable on every on daily basis. So that is something that you build every day. You need to be open-minded. You need to definitely be have a high level of communication and be a leader to present that and have followers that will listen or simply share the same values with you and follow you on the same road. That is something that is there is no pattern, or I didn't find that until now, that it's something easy to implement, but definitely it's a process that is worth to invest in and try to build it. Definitely on that road, there is someone that it's not seeing your perspective or the company vision or or that culture, and simply will leave you on the road. But life is not easy; it's hard one. So definitely, we need to fight to achieve the greater goals. That is something that it's really most important on that road.
Anyone else wants to?
I can wade in a little if nobody else wants to. Yeah, so for me, quality and testing are very different things. I think I talked a little bit about it in the talk. So one of the quotes I particularly like was Jerry Weinberg's one around quality, whereby he talks about quality. Quality. So testing is essentially table stakes, right? Doing decent testing is table stakes, but quality is a complex thing. And you need the whole process and all the people involved in the process, from who decides what we work on, through to design, through to the implementation, through to the testing, through to the release, through to the way it's served and operated, if it's a SaaS-based application. All these things contribute to quality. It's not testing, it's a holistic thing, right? So, when we talk about testing is just a tiny thing in relation to quality. Quality is an enormous thing. So it's not just their testers' responsibility for quality. Quality is about us, is a part of everyone's function. It's essentially how we unlock value, whether through product management, whether through design, development, test, operations, the whole lot, right? So it can't be owned by testers. Essentially, we need to create environments where all those people are empowered to do good work. Essentially, that is how quality emerges, is by creating environments and ways of working that allow the people to do their best work, no matter what role they're in. And to be honest with you, quality and quality problems are signs of systemic issues, which are management issues. It's a sign that the organization hasn't created an environment in which quality can emerge. So it's certainly not a sign of a bad tester, because you can have quality problems because timelines are too short. You can have quality problems because of many, many, many reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with testing. It's more to do with the environment that people find themselves working in, the time pressures, the resources available, all those things. So, there's this weird connection between testers and quality. We just play a small part in it. So really, if we want to influence quality, we have to influence the whole system, the whole way in which we take things from concept through to customer. But anyway, I'll shut up now.
No, I agree with that. And I will add just one thing, that is, sometimes to foster that quality culture, and one in my previous companies, we kind of have to do that. It was to make it hurt. So, and why? Because when we are human. So when something is hurting, we want to make it stop hurting. So what happens was, in my previous companies, what happens was the development kind of put things in production and then just jump into the next sprint. And if something breaks or we have issues or something like that, they are not really available to solve that. And to change that, we kind of put them in charge of everything that happens in production. So now they are doing on-call, they are responding to things that happens in production. And suddenly things or problems started to rise down. They stopped delivering so much features because they now are responsible of things that happens in production. So they start feeling the pain of doing the wrong thing. So it's kind of a devious way of introducing culture in, but it kind of the thing that had worked in the past.
Mm-hmm. No, it comes back to the skin in the game thing, right? If there are no consequences to your decisions, then why would I design an operable or a testable system if I don't have to test it and somebody else has to deal with that pain? Why would I develop an operable system if I'm not the one operating it? I don't feel that pain. So, and that's the whole DevOps thing, is about bringing people together to work towards a better world where ops and developers and testers and all these people work together to create a world where there's less stress and pain because the systems are designed to be operated, to be tested, and all those things.
So thank you, everyone. I think we have to go and start back in 1 hour until 10 a.m. No, I'm joking. We have to close up. It was great to have you here. And also thanks for the remaining speakers that could not attend this round table. And hope to see you all in our next OmniTestingConf. Thanks. I pass the word to you, Tony.
So, well, that concludes our roundtable discussion and the OmniTestingConf. Thank you from me to all the speakers who joined us today to share their experiences, their perspectives, advice, and best practices on how to improve the quality of our products. Today, we had attendees from over 80 countries who joined us with great questions, really challenged us about our notions of quality and testing, and that's exactly the kind of conversations we want to encourage at OmniTestingConf. So finally, to wrap up, thank you again, everyone, for tuning in, and we hope to see you again next time for the next OmniTestingConf. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.